Welcome, Aquarius and Aquarius cross watchers, to your reading for this week. So we have the Knight of Pentacles reversed. Aquarius, I'm getting this feeling that you may have had this, like a vision or a view of how something was going to happen, and it did not work out that way at all. I feel like, not so much, it doesn't feel like you hit a brick wall. It just feels like it almost makes you kind of shake your head the way that it worked out. It seems to be, it's kind of a mess, right? It just feels like it's like nobody's doing their job. It's a little bit of a cluster F is kind of what I'm seeing. Aquarius. Aquarius. Okay, we're going to get 3 here. 1, 2, dang, lots of pentacles. I think you saw it going downhill, but you were hoping against hope that that wasn't going to happen. Yep. So, Aquarius, I feel like that just kind of reiterates what the first card was saying. I feel like when this whole thing started, you saw it. You saw that there was like this hopefulness and something really nice might happen. And I feel like even in that moment when you saw it as being, oh, maybe something nice might happen, you knew from the start it was done. I feel like you, even in this moment, you knew that like there was no way that this could work out, but something about the thought of it kind of made your heart sing a little bit. And I feel like you may have gone along with it in that you may have allowed yourself to kind of like, well, maybe, because it was such a, feels like it was like a really hopeful moment. I feel like honestly, I feel like it's because you wanted this to go well. If this is for someone else, it's like you were looking at it and you thought, I don't think this is going to work out, but you're looking at it, but I hope it does. I hope, this is best case scenario. I hope it does. And, you definitely saw the writing on the wall. I feel like part of it is that this person, they seem to bite off more than they can chew, or more than they can chew. My apologies. I feel like there's somebody that's like, hey, do this. And they just see like, I want the end result of whatever this is, right? I want this. This is the end result. This is what I want. And I feel like, and they don't necessarily kind of do all of the legwork to figure out like, I want this, but am I willing to do what's required to get this? And I feel like that's when this 2 of Pentacles came in, right? They're looking at it like, holy crap, this is a lot. And I feel like they were, I'm going to be honest, I feel like they were overwhelmed and they kept holding everything up in the air because they didn't want to let you down. That may not be the nicest thing to hear, but from what I'm seeing, they knew it was doomed. By the time they hit this spot, they knew it was, going downhill for sure. And it's almost like they had gone too far to give up now, and giving up now would have, it's almost like then they would be agreeing with everybody that they don't believe in themselves. So they just kind of thought like, well, I know this is not going to work out. I almost said like, oh, they're going to go for broke, but it wasn't even that. It's like they knew that they had a losing hand, but like whether they put all their chips in or not, they're still going to lose the same. At least that's how they saw it. I feel like this is somebody that's really all or nothing. Like either they are this or they are not this, right? So it's like that time where you're kind of in the in-between, where you're kind of towards the goal, but you're still kind of, you haven't quite stepped completely out of the whatever it is that you're leaving behind. So you are and you are not at the same time. They're not able to Their mind doesn't work like that right now. It doesn't really perceive the gray, right? It's like everything is black and white. And then the Tower. I mean, I'm just going to make sure that the cards are upright because these ones are off to the side. Here's what's interesting, or not interesting, but peculiar, rather. I feel like despite the fact that they knew that it was going to bring, bring the Tower down, I feel like they continued on knowing that they could have saved other people along the way, but just kept going because it's almost like they couldn't stop themselves. They couldn't, it feels to them like they'd built up so much momentum. It's almost like they were just going to let the chips fall where they may rather than kind of putting a stop to it. I feel like doing it like that would have caused them to, like they'd have to go kind of with their tail between their legs and go and deal with something. Not from fear, but shame. Kind of this, there seems to be something here about this person really struggling to admit to themselves when they're not capable of doing something. I feel like that seems to be a really big problem for them. It makes them feel like they're somehow, it's almost like they're giving up a part of themselves by, agreeing with how other people perceive them. It seems to be like it's actually coming from a place of like, I feel like this person has something to prove, right? Who knows what that is and who knows why that's there. I feel like they constantly compared themselves to someone for a very long time and they always came up short. And I feel like they always compared themselves in the things that they were, maybe not on the same level, right? Because it's just because someone is better at this, at project A, well, maybe you're better at project B. And I feel like this person wasn't able to see that. It's like they just focused on what the other person was better at. And it left them always with this feeling of like, I just can't get there. Right? So we're going to get a card on the Tower. Can we get one on the Tower here? The World. Here's the thing, Aquarius. I feel like, sorry, my hands are in the way. I feel like it was this person's last cycle in doing this. They seem to feel that it was, their last kick at the can in terms of, whatever this situation is. I feel like they couldn't, like another part of the reason why they couldn't come in and just be like, this isn't working out, let's just cut our losses and off we go. They seem to really struggle with experiencing loss, which is interesting because it leads them to more loss, right? Because they're not willing to admit like, oh, this is done. We gotta get out with what we have left. And I feel like this is the beginning of seeing through that for them. I feel like this is when they're looking around thinking like, holy F, holy S, like this is bad. Feels like there's this kind of energy of, wow, I didn't realize it could be this bad. Now, is it really that bad? Possibly. Is it this person who is extremely hard on themselves and kind of has that catastrophic thinking? How when, the average person stubs their toe and we hop around in pain for a while, this person thinks they broke their foot, right? Or it's like, they stub their toe and then they think about how this is going to affect their job because they can't walk and they can't get on the bus and that means they can't drive their car or whatever, right? So it's like they immediately go to worst case scenario, and they don't just go to worst case scenario like, oh, they broke their foot. It's like, well, now they're going to take that down every single path that can also produce a negative result. And so I feel like they're just constantly living in this place where everything's negative, which honestly it feels like it must be exhausting for them. Oh, I can't imagine feeling like it's just never enough. And I feel like this is kind of, they're on the precipice of, well, they better start defining some things for themselves instead of using other people as a rule or a measure to how good or how bad they're doing. Because from, what I'm seeing here, they are sad to see what they're losing. They're sad to see it go, but it actually feels that it's very freeing to them. It's freeing that it's finally off their shoulders. It's heartbreaking, but they feel like they can finally be free now. Jeez. All right. We'll do one more. Can we get one more here, please? One more for Aquarius. Yep. So we have the Emperor at the bottom of the deck with the Eight of Swords. So they're about to see how all of this is their fault. And please let me explain that. That doesn't necessarily mean that everything that's bad that happened here, everything that fell apart is completely their fault, right? But it's like they're able to look at it and think like, oh yeah, I could have done that better, and I could have done that better, and I could have done that better. And so it's like it just seems like a small shift from, oh my God, the world is ending, to looking at it like they're looking at all like the little things that they could have done better, but they're not looking at how things can go worse, at least, if that makes sense, right? So it's like it seems like it's a small step, but to me, it seems like it's a huge step, because it's like a shift in your thinking patterns and how you, in the different paths that your brain takes when you're thinking about situations, and it feels like it's a categorical change, right? Like they're, excuse me, they're seeing how their own stuff caused this to fail. That's the huge part. And it's that kind of comes about from them having that, like, oh, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. I could have, you know what I mean? And it doesn't feel like they're shitting all over themselves. I feel like it's more like, I could have done that better. Like, I actually am capable of doing that better. I'm capable of doing more. So there seems to be this epiphany, and I feel like there's a message here, Crosswatcher, if you're listening. All is not lost. It's really not. So I love you, Aquarius. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you on the next one. Much love. Bye.